टेक में ना कंटिन्यूस अपग्रेडेशन करना पड़ता है खुद को. टीयर 1 कॉलेजेस से दी IITs एंड NITs ऑफ इंडिया, वहाँ भी ना करिकुलम जो है बहुत आउटडेटेड है. जो स्किल्स ग्रेजुएट्स लेकर आ रहे हैं, बहुत बड़ा डिफरेंस वहाँ पे. 2035 में टेल मी अ जॉब दैट यू थिंक विल बी सेफ. इफ यू टेक अप दिस कोर्स, यू आर नाउ एलिजिबल फॉर jobs at Google. 50% of the people who work at FANG companies in the US do not have a college degree. After you have spent say 3-4 years, 5 years now, you start to see the results and मतलब unbeatable packages जाते हैं.
हाय गाइस, आई एम निशांत सर, वेलकम बैक टू द चैनल. तो यार ये वाला पॉडकास्ट ना काफ़ी ज़्यादा इंटरेस्टिंग होने वाला है. हमने बहुत सारी चीज़ों के बारे में बात करी, मतलब बहुत सारी. एंड प्रितेश इज़ अ IIT दिल्ली ग्रेजुएट. उन्होंने बहुत सारी कंपनीज में काम किया हुआ है एज अ सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियर, एज अ डेटा इंजीनियर, एंड इसके अलावा ही हैज़ लाइक को फाउंडेड मेनी स्टार्टअप्स. तो टेक में उनका जो लाइक एक्सपीरियंस है वो काफ़ी लाइक ज़्यादा है एंड काफ़ी वास्ट है. So we are talking about hiring, we are talking about recession, we are talking about how companies have evolved in the past decade, और like future क्या होने वाला है सॉफ्टवेयर का, how software industry is going to change, and बहुत सारी ज़्यादा इंटरेस्टिंग बातें हैं. So definitely check that out and वीडियो को लाइक ज़रूर कर देना यार. इस वीडियो का लाइक टारगेट 5000 लाइक्स रखते हैं. एंड बिना किसी देरी के प्रीतेश का इंट्रोडक्शन लेते हैं. So प्रीतेश, can you please introduce yourself?
I have a degree in computer science from IIT Delhi and अब उसके बाद 10 साल हो गए, almost a decade into tech and startup ecosystem. For the last 2.5 years, I've been building Functionup, which is a tech platform for training people in tech. उसके पहले I was working on a gaming ecosystem. Before that, again I had another startup. I built a company which was in the tech domain. So last 10 years में massive amount of time गया है tech में and massive amount of time गया है education में. And all my life मैं बहुत lucky रहा. I had a lot of mentors, a lot of brilliant people mentoring me, and then that inspired me to give back. That inspired me कि education space में रहना है, education mentoring करनी है लोगों की, and that is how we started with Functionup. The whole idea was to give back to society, to be able to contribute to society and to get better techies out of India. So that's a brief about me. I think Baki will cover more in the podcast.
श्योर. साउंड्स अमेजिंग. तो प्रीतेश, आपके एक्सपीरियंस से जो आपने 10 ईयर्स में इतना सारा काम किया है, सो व्हाट आर द थिंग्स व्हिच यू थिंक कि आपने अच्छी करी होती या बेटर करी होती दैट वुड हेल्प यू ग्रो मोर?
I think मतलब when I look back and I'll especially talk about tech space because वहाँ मेरा most of my experience रहा है. तो I think 1 or 2 core things that we could have done better, or I could have done better, was probably learning some of the key life skills early on. So क्या होता है ना कि and in general, not just probably about tech, क्या होता है कि जब इंडियन सोसाइटी की बात करें when we compare it to say वेस्टर्न सोसाइटी, तो वेस्टर्न सोसाइटी में क्या होता है कि 18-19 साल में people are left, right? They have to leave home and they have to feed for themselves. वो अपनी कॉलेज की फीस भरते खुद से and they work random jobs, and what that does is कि that instills some life skills into you. That instills the value of time into you. That instills the value of perseverance into you. Unlike in Indian society, I'm not saying that Indian society is all bad or all good. I'm just pulling out a single thread कि ये एक thread है जो Indian society मिस होता है. And that is something that I have experienced in my life and in the life of so many learners that I interact with on a daily basis. Indian society में क्या होता है, we 24-25 के एज तक our parents, they support us. Right. Our parents are they will not leave your side, right? तब तक क्या होता है कि you don't realize कि खुद से जो चीज़ें आगे बढ़ानी पड़ती हैं, जो value of time होता है. What happens is कि when you get into college, you'll see that most of the students in college, they will probably throw away their time, right? They will not value their time. They will not value the importance of college education. They will not value the money that has gone into college education. And in fact, because of that very fact, college will also not कॉलेज का भी कोई रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी नहीं है. कॉलेज डज नॉट ओ दीज स्टूडेंट्स एनीथिंग. कॉलेज को कोई रिस्पॉन्सिबल होल्ड करने वाला नहीं होता. एंड दैट हैज इम्पैक्टेड द होल इंडियन सोसाइटी टिल कैंडिडेट और टिल अ स्टूडेंट और टिल अ लर्नर और टिल एन इंडिविजुअल गेट्स टू एन एज ऑफ 25. So I think if I look back, I will say that definitely some of the life skills I wish I would have learned early on, which means, like I told, be it value of time, be it value of perseverance, be it also one more bit I think that I got to realize really late was, and I talked about it a little bit in the previous question actually, is the value of mentorship. I was very lucky कि मेरे साथ ना बहुत अच्छे mentors रहे, बहुत top mentors रहे, people who were really brilliant, people who were really good at what they were doing. बट वो बहुत लेट आया. ऐसा नहीं था कि एक्सेस नहीं था मेंटर्स का. इट वॉज जस्ट दैट आई डिड नॉट नो द वैल्यू ऑफ मेंटरशिप. So I reached out to people pretty late, but I've been lucky in the last 5-10 years. I've had really brilliant mentors actually. So I wish कि going back, I had better mentorship early on in my career, and that would have been transformative. So I think I'm talking about all of these because I understand that a lot of people at this age should be looking at these things and not be realizing it in their 30s or in the late 20s. Yeah.
Okay, amazing. So yeah, I also feel the same कि ये जो life skills है ना, we don't learn them as we are young. मतलब मेरे दोस्त हैं, मेरे आसपास जो लोग हैं, they are 23, 24 and they don't want to leave their home to get out of their comfort zone. And वो चीज़ थोड़ी सही नहीं लगती at some point of time, because you need to learn all this before you are at some age like 20, 24, 25, so that you can explore also. You need to be a better person as a whole, not just तुम काम कर रहे हो, you are earning money. You have to learn life skills as well. So another question is like how to build a successful career in tech, because as I can see you have co-founded many startups, you have like worked in some amazing companies, you have worked on different tech stacks. So what are the things that you have learned in the past few years that can help youngsters to make a successful career in tech?
I think that's a brilliant question. I think that is something that I do day in, day out, and I have almost 10 years now in tech now. So I think tech is now very peculiar as far as a career goal or a career objective is concerned. Peculiar in the sense कि tech में ना continuous upgradation करना पड़ता है खुद को. You can't say कि हो गया, I've entered tech and I'm done. वो नहीं कर सकते, ठीक है. Which means that tech calls for perseverance. Tech calls for continuous learning and continuous guidance actually. I'll give you a story. So when Satya Nadella, he moved to the top of Microsoft, and it's been almost close to 8 years now. I think there was one transformative change that happened in Microsoft, which probably transformed the shape that shaped Microsoft over the last decade actually. And Microsoft was on a downward trajectory before Satya Nadella took over.
Right.
So Satya Nadella, and probably is one of the most respected CEOs today in the world. If you look back, one transformative change that has happened at Microsoft is the value of continual learning and continual growth that has gotten instilled into the whole corporation. And it's amazing. You have to realize that इतना बड़ा ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, इट्स वेरी ओल्ड. बहुत मुश्किल है ना इतना बड़ा कल्चरल शिफ्ट कर पाना किसी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन एट दैट लेवल, राइट? एंड विच इज व्हाट इज द ब्यूटी ऑफ Satya Nadella, and I'm glad he represents India at a global front also. But yeah, I think that is what radically changed Microsoft's journey over the last 7-8 years. So I digress a little, but yeah, I think what I want to say is कि tech में you have to borrow a thread from Satya Nadella's story, from Microsoft's story, and you have to keep upgrading yourself. And that is where probably a lot of these learning platforms like ourselves, like Functionup, come into picture, right? They give you guidance, they give you mentorship, they give you a platform where you can continuously upgrade yourself, continuously engage in more and more of learning and more skills actually. And that is non-negotiable. ऐसा ना टेक में non-negotiable. आप नहीं बोल सकते कि मैं तब आज मैं स्किल हो गया हूँ and I'll not go forward. So I think that is one thing that people should remember before getting into tech, I think.
Got it. I totally agree. Like हर point पे अपने आप को upskill करना काफ़ी ज़्यादा important होता है. Like you can't say कि I have learned this and I'll like work on this for my whole life, because technology change and हर 4-5 साल में something new comes up and you have to keep learning and keep upgrading yourself.
Yep.
So you talked about Functionup, right? So why did you like start Functionup? What was the motivation behind Functionup? Can you like talk about that?
I think on that note, I'll say something that probably the ex-CEO of Google, Eric Schmidt, has to say. I'll rephrase it a little, okay? But I'll say that what I've realized over the last 10 years of journey, or एक decade हो गया पूरा tech में अब, is that people should be running towards tech. you should be running towards tech like it's मतलब like your life depends on it. Simply because tech will take over. That is something that I realized is lacking probably in Indian society. Indian society में ना क्या है कि इंडस्ट्री वेटेड करिकुलम नहीं है कॉलेज में, है ना. इंडस्ट्री से कोई कनेक्ट नहीं है कॉलेज में अभी जो करिकुलम है. आई एम नॉट जस्ट टॉकिंग अबाउट एनी कॉलेज, इवन इफ यू टेक इन कंसिडरेशन से टियर 1 कॉलेजेस से द IITs एंड NITs ऑफ इंडिया, वहाँ भी ना करिकुलम जो है बहुत आउटडेटेड है. यू विल नॉट फाइंड curriculum that is in sync with what is happening in the industry today. That is something that needs to change, right? In parallel with the fact that you should be running towards tech. Now, tech की तरफ देखोगे ना आप तो tech will, like I said, tech will take over. आज से, for example, let's talk about the COVID phase. 2 साल पहले almost 50% bookings जो है flight bookings बात करते हैं, 50% bookings जो ना ऑफलाइन हुआ करती थी, शॉप से हुआ करती थी, ट्रैवल एजेंट्स के थ्रू हुआ करती थी. Now that has changed. That has come down to 1%. 99% of the bookings are online today. आपको लगता है कि सिर्फ बड़ी चीजें इम्पैक्ट होंगी, ऐसा नहीं है. छोटी चीजें, छोटे जॉब्स, they're getting impacted by tech. Talk about retail shops. If you're living in a tier 1 city, you'll realize that already some of the retail shops are going extinct. Big Basket, Dunzo, Instamart, all of these people are taking over. Technology is taking over. Give it a decade. These things will reach your tier 2, tier 3, छोटे गांव चप्पा पे पहुंच जाएगा. Swiggy, मतलब I think Swiggy, Zomato, these are in tier 2, tier 3 cities today in India. So that realization कि भाई people should be running towards tech, and the realization कि भाई मतलब people are the college जो है ना, college education जो है या formal education जो है वो fulfill नहीं कर रहा हमारी society की need को. That is where we thought कि we should be starting with Functionup. I think content की जहाँ तक बात करें ना टेक में, there is one more, I think I want to point out one more thing is content ना available है, सब जगह available है. You can access the exact same content as what a Stanford graduate or an IIT graduate or an MIT graduate can access today. So what is the difference? यहाँ से लोग जो graduate हो रहे हैं वहाँ की उनकी learning में और self learning में difference क्या है? वहाँ एक core relation, that difference is guidance, that difference is mentorship, that difference is access to the best people in the country or to the best people in the world. These are the 3 key gaps that we fill at Functionup, and these are the 3 key values जिसके कारण we thought कि भाई there is a Functionup is the need of the hour. Functionup is what is needed today in Indian society. I think that's what got us started. Yeah.
Got it. I agree with you on the fact कि what makes a tier 1 college is the peer group and the mentorship. Like curriculum is outdated. Generally लोग college में नहीं पढ़ते हैं. Coming from NSIT and you coming from IIT Delhi, we know कि college की पढ़ाई we do like 1 day before the exam, and वो बस exams pass करने के लिए होती है, not to get a job. For getting a job, we have to learn different skills which are not taught in the college right now. So I totally agree on that fact. So Pritesh, next question is like, why are a lot of tech graduates like unemployed at this point of time? जब इतने सारे न्यूज़ आर्टिकल्स आते हैं, इतने सारे न्यूज़ चैनल्स पे बोलते हैं कि like 90%, 70% of the tech graduates who graduate every year are unemployable, or they are not employed, or they are like they don't have a job right now. So why is that happening?
I think there would be 3 or 4 key factors. One would be skill mismatch है. Obvious mismatch of skill. The skills required in the domain today, in the technology domain today, और जो skills graduates लेकर आ रहे हैं, बहुत बड़ा difference है वहाँ पे. In fact, expectation का भी difference है. If you look at a learner today who is exposed to so much of information, so much of content today, उनकी जर्नी देखते हैं. क्लासिक लर्नर की जर्नी ऐसी है कि दे विल स्प्रेड देमसेल्व्स थिन अक्रॉस मल्टीपल टेक्नोलॉजीज या मल्टीपल एस्पेक्ट्स ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी इन जनरल. दैट इज इफ दे आर फोकस्ड. ठीक है. If they're not focused, if they're depending upon college education, तो that's a totally different story altogether. But for getting into tech, what you need to do is probably go deeper into one aspect of tech, not spread yourself thin across so many different technologies or so many different aspects of technology. तो वहाँ पे एक बहुत बड़ा स्किल मिसमैच है ऑब्वियसली. I think on the other hand, a lot of these people are coming out of colleges and they're looking for a job. वहाँ पे भी ना एक बहुत बड़ा core problem है. मतलब incentives misaligned है college के. See, when you're getting into college, obviously the college wants obviously every college wants you get into a high-paying job, right? But that is not needed, right? You've already paid a fee and probably you're going to be there for the next 4 years. So that is not the need of the hour for the college. So वहाँ पे ना skills, वहाँ पे incentives जो है ना misaligned है, unfortunately. I think that is the second reason. The third reason that I wanted to talk about, and it's a big reason actually. I think we touched upon this earlier also. But there are a lot of distractions. क्या होता है ना कि growing in an Indian society, you don't, like I talked about, you don't get those life skills. कि ना भाई focus बहुत जरूरी है life में. You need to be disciplined. You need to continuously push yourself to cross those barriers and do really good in life. Professional life is going to be a major part of life for the next 40-50 years. You need to make the best out of it. With इतना सारा social media, इतने सारे apps हैं, इतने सारे engagement tools हैं, बहुत सारे distractions हैं. People keep getting distracted. Not just social media. Even if someone is focused now, वो भी बहुत distracted है because there is so much information out there. You jump from one piece to another, but you're continuously jumping, right? So there are a lot of factors today that overall get together and they play out very differently and probably are stopping graduates from getting into tech. I think that is one core barrier that I see that needs to be disrupted, especially as far as learning is concerned, as far as getting into tech is concerned. That is where I think Functionup comes into picture, and we have been trying to work on all of these three aspects, and I hope कि in the coming years, I'm not just saying that we will be able to complement, but I'm hoping we will be able to replace college education in general. It's become redundant. College has been there for the last two centuries maybe, right? And I believe the whole concept of college, especially as far as getting a job is concerned, that has become redundant now. That's the thing. It's high time that it becomes thing of the past. But yes, if you're trying to get into research, if you're trying to get into higher education, आपको masters करना है and all, then college education probably becomes necessary. But if your sole goal is getting into a job, which is probably the goal for 99% of the people who get into college, I think college is not serving that, and it's high time that it becomes quickly it gets replaced and a new system of education comes into picture.
Got it. And we have talked about mentorship like इससे पहले थोड़ा सा. So why do you think, or what do you think about mentorship and proper guidance in tech? Like how that can help a person?
I think that's a brilliant question. I think now when people, why I want to go deeper into, I would love to go deeper into this question actually. The reason being कि early years में ना, and I have made that mistake, so I know that. ठीक है, लोगों को हवा ही नहीं होती. People don't know what's a mentor. Mentor is probably someone senior. That's it. That's what they know. ठीक है, but importance का पता नहीं होता लोगों को. I think one of the core things, the most obvious things that a mentor does is that mentor will tell you what's wrong. Even if they don't tell you what's right, they will tell you what's not the way to take. That's definitely one of the most obvious things that comes with mentorship. Mentorship is not just about, say, passing on skills. It gives you the right, it not just gives you the right guidance also. It gives you the right platform to brainstorm. It gives you the right platform. It gives you a person who's been in your shoes, with whom you can, it's a wall, right? Where you can throw a lot of ideas. Think of it like a wall where you can throw a lot of ideas, and some of the ideas will come back, some of them won't. Some of them will get rejected. And that is what is needed at an early age. Or whenever you're getting into something and you're early into that, mentorship is non-negotiable. I think what people miss out in terms of, one big thing that people miss out in terms of mentorship is, mentorship helps you leap forward. Leap forward not just in a space, but leap forward many years in your life. that has been my experience, and I have, like I mentioned earlier, I've been extremely lucky. I know that I probably belong to that 0.1% population in the country that have had access to brilliant mentors. But yeah, I think I would like to pass on that message. Mentorship is something that everyone should jump to, should embrace at the earliest opportunity.
Great. Great. Also, we have talked about like tech is the next thing, or we should all lean towards tech. You have talked about in the previous question, and I want to know, like, a lot of people are not from the tech background actually. Like they don't have B.Tech degrees, or they don't have like engineering or computer science knowledge before they want to work in that field, right? So वो non-tech वाले people, be it BA people or who don't have a formal education, how they can get into tech? Like, what is the way to get there?
I think there are two aspects of what we were just talking about. One is कि everyone should lean towards tech. पहली चीज समझते हैं कि भाई if not tech, what? Tell me a job that you think कि 10 साल, we are in 2023 today, 2035 की बात करते हैं, 12 साल हो गए चलो, 2035 में tell me a job that you think will be safe. And I can tell you कि believe me, there is a 99% probability that job will not exist. Tell me a job. आप कोई भी job उठा लो, ठीक है? That job might not. That could be something as meaningless or probably a blue collar job like driving a cab. Automation हो रहा है वहाँ पे. That's going away. There is a Tesla out there that can see in the rain. I hope you're aware of. I'm not sure if all the listeners are aware of that story. That can see in the rain better than a human can. वहाँ भी automation हो रहा है. Let's talk about something top, maybe white collar jobs. I don't know. Maybe video editing. Creative side चले जाते हैं, ठीक है. वहाँ भी automation हो रहा है. There is so much that is just going away, ठीक है. But on that note, I also want to point out that historically, looking at tech has always created more jobs than it has taken away. तो ये तो है. But I'm still covering the first part of what he discussed because that is very important. But it's very important. Now, someone आज अगर मैं अपने 20s में हूँ, तो I should be able to see कि भाई मैं 30s में ना unemployed नहीं हो जाऊँगा. 30s में मुझे अपने आपको स्किल करने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी ना. 30s में तो मुझे अपना गेम चेंज करने की, अपनी ऑक्यूपेशन चेंज करने की, अपनी जॉब चेंज करने की जरूरत तो नहीं पड़ेगी. डोमेन चेंज करने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी. So मतलब like I said कि tech has historically always created more jobs than it has taken away. But believe me, even if मतलब tech doesn't take away someone's job ना, अगर tech आपकी नौकरी नहीं लेगा तो someone who knows tech ना, they will take away your job. That is a fact. So first and foremost, run towards tech. It is absolutely a no-brainer कि run towards tech. There is no looking sideways or backwards. I think having said that, you talked about probably I digressed and I'll come back to the original question, which was कि if I come from a non-tech background, how do I get into it? How do I get into tech? So I think मैंने थोड़ा सा इस पे बात करी थी, but there is absolutely no skill, no background required for tech. There are so many success stories that we have here at Functionup. People who come from BA background, history honors background, and people who are into sales, people who are into data domain, people who are into there's so many stories out there on our YouTube channel as well. Probably people can look that up as well. So many stories of people who don't even have their college education, who don't even have a college degree actually breaking into tech. So I think I don't know where that notion comes from. But yeah, definitely कोई background नहीं चाहिए tech में जाने के लिए. Absolutely start from zero. I think there is I think, and it's not just us Functionup that is promoting people to get into tech. But in fact, I think 2 या 3 साल पहले Google came out with a course. It's I think 2 या 2.5 साल का course है, where they're trying to say कि भाई if you take up this course, you're now eligible for jobs at Google. 2 या 2.5 साल का course है, I think. It's not a very popular course in general, but that's there. Having said that, you should understand. I'll give you stats. So 50% of the people working in these FANG companies, FANG are the top tech companies in the world, right? Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google. 50% of the people who work at FANG companies in the US do not have a college degree. Forget about a background in tech, they don't have a college degree. So that trend is changing. Companies are open to, and probably tech is the only domain where companies are open to taking people who don't have a background in it, but they do have these skills required. बहुत hard skill है. By hard skill I mean something that can be demonstrated. तो बहुत ना hard skill है tech. Tech में अगर आपको आता है तो आता है, नहीं आता है. I'll be able to figure out, let's say I'm interviewing someone, I'll be able to figure out in 15-20 minutes इसको आता है नहीं आता है. Simple है, बहुत easily demonstrable skill है. अगर someone knows tech, they will be able to add value because all they have to do is code. All they have to do is code, right? And it does not take anything. The best thing about tech, the best thing about coding is probably you don't even need a real Ola or a real Uber or a real cab or a real car to build something like Ola or Uber. That's the power of tech. So absolutely you need no background. That's a myth, and that's a myth that needs to be broken actually.
I totally agree with that. And I have also seen a lot of change in the Indian society as well. Like पहले like college degree was necessary, but आजकल जो startups आ रहे हैं या फिर like unicorns in India, they don't care about your background or they don't care about your college degree as such. If you have the right skills to do that job, they are ready to hire you.
Yep.
So we have talked about कि like next 10-12 years में tech is gonna take over, or there will be more tech jobs than any other jobs, right? And everything is getting automated, whether it is driving cars or driving planes or doing anything, right? So what do you think is the future of the...
Or maybe even getting groceries.
Yeah. So what do you think is the future of the software industry? Like where are we heading towards?
I think like I said, one core feature is that tech will take over. And the tech will not just take over jobs, but tech will also create jobs. There will be newer and newer jobs that will get created. For example, when YouTube came into existence, right, it created a whole new range of jobs. It did not just create jobs in tech, but it also created jobs. It also creator ecosystem pura ban karaya, and probably that became a very large ecosystem and and a very lucrative ecosystem in general, and a lot of people could follow their passion towards that actually. But yeah, as far as the future of tech is concerned, I think it is non-negotiable. The first topic that we talked about, which is tech will take over. The second thing that I want to talk about is tech का future predict करना बहुत difficult है. What will be the new emerging technologies? Tech कैसे evolve होगा? ये predict करना बहुत ही मुश्किल है. The core principles behind tech will remain the same. But yes, I think new technologies will come in, and that is something that we talked about earlier, which means a continuous upgradation, a continual learning का path अपने को हमेशा will have to keep it on.
Got it.
I think I will give an example of someone from our cohort, someone at Functionup cohort, someone coming from one of the, probably I'll name it, someone coming from TCS actually, who had spent close to 2-3 years in TCS as a systems engineer, and he came from a tech background. And he was looking for a career switch. He was looking, in the service companies क्या होता है कि आप ना बहुत ज़्यादा deep नहीं जा पाते किसी भी tech में, किसी भी technology में बहुत ज़्यादा deep नहीं जाते हैं, मतलब it becomes very difficult to switch, transition to career, right? And he joined Functionup, and he was probably part of her first ever cohort, and he was there at TCS for close to, like I said, 2.5-3 years, and बहुत एक TCS service based companies में बहुत एक slow growth होता है, बहुत एक slow सा growth जाता है. The curve is pretty flat. He joined Functionup, and that was our first ever cohort, and within 4 months he was able to land a package of around 15 or 16 LPA. I don't exactly recall, but somewhere close to 15 or 16 LPA. So a continuous learning you can't say कि भाई अब learning मैं बंद कर दूंगा अपने tech में, ठीक है. अब he was at, मतलब what you need to understand from his story कि वो एक service based company में था, और वहाँ पे जो उसने सीखा 2-3 साल तक वो learning बंद हो गई. He joined Functionup, he upgraded himself, and he upgraded his entire career in general, and his entire not just about package. मतलब package is why I mentioned packages कि that is something that attracts people a lot, right? But what you need to understand is कि भाई it's not just about package, it's about the whole trajectory that changed for him. अपना टेक में क्या है, पैकेजेस ना दे शूट अप रैंडमली, बहुत हाई चले जाते हैं. आफ्टर यू हैव स्पेंड से 3-4 years 5 years ना, यू स्टार्ट टू सी दी रिजल्ट्स एंड मतलब अनबीटेबल पैकेजेस जाते हैं. बट दैट्स अ मतलब ट्रेजेक्टरी दैट यू नीड टू मेक फॉर योरसेल्फ. वो कंटिन्यूस लर्निंग से आएगा, बिकॉज दैट इज द नेचर ऑफ टेक इन जनरल.
Right, got it. So we have talked a lot about tech and how like tech is gonna take over, how it is gonna create jobs and क्या होने वाला है. So what are the most rewarding aspects of working in tech? इतनी सारी हमने बात करी है, तो what do you think are the most rewarding aspects there?
Probably one of the most rewarding aspects about tech is, and I'll be very blunt about it, I had मतलब मैं थोड़ा सा point भी किया था उसके around, is the packages, right? वो salaries जो हैं, एक financial freedom जो है, that is what attracts people the most towards tech. I've seen, ठीक है, early on career में जो लोग आ रहे होते हैं, ठीक है, packages go randomly high, बहुत high चला जाता है, especially after you spend 3-4 years in tech ना, तो मतलब the salary packages they shoot up. तो financial freedom that जो tech के साथ आता ना, that is मतलब not present in any other domain in general. वो किसी और domain में उस तरीके का financial freedom देख पाना बहुत मतलब rare है. But having said that, putting financial freedom aside, actually, there are a lot of other rewarding aspects about tech. It could be, say, job safety. What you will see now is कि tech and tech में ना jobs are relatively always safer than any other domain. Even when say ONGC was firing some time back, right? Government PSUs were firing. They were letting people go. Private sector was firing. मैं केवल private sector, I started with public sector because public sector was also firing tech. I'm not just comparing tech to the jobs in the private या corporate sector actually. मैं public sector से compare करता हूँ. Even at that point now, tech jobs are safe. Even at that point, because at Functionup we are involved into placing people in tech and placing people across multiple companies. So that is something that we had observed कि उस time पे भी ना tech में लोग hiring कर रहे थे. Tech में लोग hiring कर रहे थे. बहुत obvious nature है tech का कि भाई whenever there is tech will replace a lot of jobs. ना tech का nature है वो, that is the nature of the domain. तो whenever people are downsizing, whenever people are cutting down ना, they bring in more and more of tech in their industry, in their company, to replace some of these jobs, to replace some of these people, to cut down costs. Now simply put, to cut down costs, tech से replace करते हैं. ऐसा तो नहीं है कि भाई activity बंद हो जाएगी, कोई function बंद हो जाएगा, ऐसा तो कभी नहीं होने वाला. Function replace हो जाएगा from say मतलब people will get replaced by tech. And मतलब you'll see ना कि जब भी कोई major event हुआ है ना, for example जैसे COVID है, ठीक है, it was मतलब unfortunate what happened, but it was it gave a major boost to tech. वहाँ पे क्या हुआ कि people suddenly were working from home, a lot of jobs were going away, at least in the starting 2-3 months of COVID, but it created a lot of jobs in tech, unimaginable number of jobs in tech. That is the nature of tech. That is how technology works in general. So that is one key rewarding aspect, and it's a growing industry. It will be growing for the next 2-3 decades at least. उसके बाद तो it's very difficult to predict. तो I think that is tech is the future. सबसे बड़ा aspect है जो rewarding tech is the future, and that is where मतलब I believe कि अभी जो young जनता है 20-21 साल 25 साल की जनता है, when they're getting into a career, they should be looking at a career for the long run. ऐसा तो नहीं है कि 5 साल 2 साल के लिए देख रहे हैं. तो I think get into tech, man. And मतलब we are here to help you. Functionup is here to help you to get into tech. Utilize the platforms out there, ठीक है. I can understand मतलब at Functionup now we also understand कि भाई a lot of people don't have that financial freedom to that is required to get into tech. मतलब tech में भी ना tech में ना एक मतलब I think we talked about the rewarding aspect, but एक चीज that got missed out, which is probably a key, I won't say problem, but a hurdle of getting into tech is कि tech ना gate kept domain है, बहुत अच्छे से guarded है. We talked about it a little थोड़ी देर पहले, but बहुत अच्छे से guarded है, मतलब बहुत difficult है enter कर पाना tech में. Despite मतलब से लोग upskill कर रहे हैं खुद को, सीख रहे हैं चीजें, learn कर रहे हैं XYZ places से, but difficult है. 4-5 round of interviews हो रहे हैं. There is a very valid reason for that. That is a different story altogether. But बहुत gate kept domain. So utilize function. That is one of the reasons why we built Functionup. Will help you get into job. Despite the fact even if you don't have the financial freedom to learn tech and get into tech.
Got it. Pritesh, as you said कि like tech में वो नहीं होता, layoffs नहीं होते और people not get fired, but recently Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Salesforce, I can name a number of companies that have fired employees or they have laid off employees in the last couple of months. So what is your take on that?
I think I might have मैं थोड़ा सा गलत बोल गया वहाँ पे, ठीक है. I think what I meant to say was that it's not that tech पे people lay off नहीं होते, ऐसा नहीं है, lay off नहीं होते. Tech में भी lay off हुए, like you rightly pointed out. But tech is the last space that gets hit. Last skill है जो hit होता है. उसके पहले ना layoffs have been happening for the last 1 year. मतलब starting from say मतलब India के context में बात करो तो Byju's story that broke out probably a year back. वहाँ से layoffs चालू हुए, ठीक है. बहुत सारे domains में layoff हुए. Sales, content, बहुत सारे domains में layoff हुए, marketing, everywhere, ठीक है. Layoffs हुए, ठीक है. And then when things kept getting worse, and then there is a recent news also of even things getting even worse, then tech को impact होना चालू किया. But on that note, now I'll also say this कि simultaneously what is happening is कि that is also creating more and more opportunities at the entry level. People are downsizing, people are cutting their costs. So what have you been observing? Because that is where we position ourselves. Functionup वहीं पे enter करता है actually. Is the entry level jobs. हम entry level jobs में, right? So what you have observed is कि जैसे से jobs cut हो रहे हैं ना, जैसे से people are getting laid off, तो cost cutting के कारण senior roles are being replaced by say entry level roles. Cost cutting के लिए, ठीक है, कि अभी के लिए कोई junior engineer ले आते हैं. मतलब ऐसा तो नहीं कि engineering की का नीड खत्म हो जाएगी, क्योंकि भाई जैसे से अदर जॉब्स आर गेटिंग कट ऑफ ना, तो इंजीनियरिंग की नीड बढ़ती चली जा रही है, तो एंट्री लेवल जॉब्स क्रिएट हो रहे हैं, मतलब बिकॉज ऑफ कॉस्ट कटिंग. बट देन दैट्स मतलब समथिंग दैट द वर्ल्ड विल रिकवर फ्रॉम. Recession, the world is in a phase of recession. It won't stay that way forever. Give it another 6 months and things will change radically.
True. Like we have faced recession like 2 times in 2000s only. Like the managers I have right now or the people whose fathers or parents or someone who is working in tech वो बता रहे हैं कि in 2000s also something similar happened. In 2008-9 something similar happened and we have recovered through like a year max. Right, so this is going to recover at some point of time, but yeah, like things are not that great right now, but still companies are hiring and tech में still सबसे ज़्यादा hiring होती है. Still tech में still like people are more placed compared to other fields, whether it be sales, marketing or content or anything, because tech is at the end of the day needed. जो जितने भी जॉब कट्स होंगे या फिर जितने भी चीज़ें होंगे वो वहाँ पे होंगे जहाँ पे पीपल आर एक्सपेरिमेंटिंग राइट नाउ. They can cut jobs from the experimental things, but they can't cut jobs from the things which are working right now. तो वो एक है, whether it be any company, the companies which are cutting costs is cutting from the experimental projects that they started in COVID, which they thought कि ये might get like boosted in some point of time, but that didn't happen, and yeah.
I think this is such a Nishant, such an interesting topic now. I think I'll add another short anecdote here. So Mercedes, I'll talk about Mercedes a little. So Mercedes is probably one of the most, has been at least one of the most innovative companies in the last 2 or 3 years. बहुत सारा innovation किया है. They have started beating Tesla at their own tech actually. So 2-3 साल पहले what happened, I was listening to the CEO of Mercedes talk about the changes, the kind of changes that they've made over the last 2-3 years. So 2-3 साल पहले क्या है, Mercedes realized कि भाई then there is Tesla and there are a lot of these companies that are new age companies in this space that are coming in and taking over now. So now they have to upgrade themselves. And upgrade themselves का मतलब naturally, जैसे ही अपना ऐसे एक कंपनी अपने आप को अपग्रेड करने की बात करती है ना, बहुत naturally जो वर्ड निकल कर आता है इसकी टेक्नोलॉजी अडॉप्ट करना है. If we are a 100-year-old company now, we want to adopt technology now. So what Mercedes did ना is कि भाई, and Mercedes is almost a century old now, they realized कि अब अपने आप को अपग्रेड करना है and we have to adopt technology और बहुत टेक्नोलॉजी में बहुत जल्दी लीप फॉरवर्ड करना है.
Right.
But they had a very large workforce. अब उसका क्या करें? What do we do with them? So Mercedes only 2 options. कि भाई या तो इनको lay off करें and we replace them with techies in general, ठीक है, या फिर हम इनको retrain करें. Mercedes is a brilliant company. I have deep respect for it. And Mercedes what they did is they decided कि हम इसको सबको retrain करते हैं, upgrade करते हैं, upskill करते हैं. And they started with their, believe it or not, they realized कि बहुत बड़ा organization है, people in their 50s, 60s, अब कैसे retrain करेंगे स्टेज पे. So they started with their HR team. and it's such a great story. They started with their HR team. They prove कि भाई उन्होंने कि this is doable, ठीक है. And over the last 2 years, they have upskilled almost 50% of their team, and have turned out as a brilliantly innovative company in the last 2 years. And like I said, they've been beating Tesla at their game over the last 6-8 months. So it's a brilliant example, and it's a brilliant example of continuous learning. It's a brilliant example of technology and upskilling in technology. And I think I have deep respect for what Mercedes is doing.
Right. And even you talk about Adidas or Nike, like if you think ki why tech is required in these companies as such, but they have started their development centers recently in India. Matlab Adidas and Nike have started hiring a lot of engineers in India. And when you see ki how companies are evolving into tech, how companies are starting their development centers in India, so you can see ki kitni zyada opportunities will be coming up in future.
Yes, man. I think what Eric Schmidt sums it up really beautifully. Run towards tech.
Great. So the last question for you is, what do you see when you are hiring a fresher? So
I think freshers na in general na, I'll say कि over the last decade or so na, freshers का the talent pool has evolved. ठीक है. Multiple reasons कारण हो सकता है. But that talent pool has evolved. Freshers are way more talented today. Because of, say, a lot of new age companies like ourselves, like Functionup coming in, these companies like Functionup, we train them on projects, we train them on the required skills, industry vetted curriculum, the industry से linked, deeply linked है industry के साथ. But having said that, I think when we are hiring freshers now, we do realize that they are way more talented, but then there are way more distractions also today. बहुत लोग बहुत सारे डिस्ट्रैक्टेड हैं, बहुत कुछ करके बैठे हैं, बट कहीं भी ना पकड़ नहीं है, कहीं भी they don't have a very strong hold, they have not gone deep into one aspect. So when I'm hiring in tech now, I try and check whether मतलब they have deep knowledge of a piece where these projects, do they understand technology that goes behind this project, या जब just कहीं से scrape करके चीजें जोड़ जाड़ के ऐसे बना दिया है, ठीक. So you would want to get into that, right? And that is a very good skill to have. ऐसा नहीं कि that's not a good skill to have where you're collecting a lot of information because you're bombarded with information पूरा available है सब जगह, ठीक है. But then मतलब that skill will not serve you in the long run. There's ChatGPT, there's so many other things coming up today where ना वो surface level skills ना भी धीरे-धीरे ना are going away, ठीक है. You need deeper skills. You need to understand what you're writing. You need to understand your code. You need to be able to write and frame logic in your code, right? I think so that those are certain things that I look at in general in tech. But in general, मतलब अगर tech hiring की बात करें, tech hiring is stringent. There are multiple rounds. The reason behind it is कि भाई people are going to, no matter who you hire as a fresher, especially as a fresher, companies will do eventually spend considerable amount of resource in training them. 1-2 महीने लग जाता है before they start pushing code to production. Anybody who's been into tech will realize this कि वो training जाता है because there is a large volume of code that has been written in the company already. So when you want to मतलब when you are saying कि भाई अगले 1-2 महीने तक I'll be spending resources on training someone या मतलब fine tuning their skills to our exact requirement, वो scrutiny stringent होगी. Which brings us back to our original topic that probably we were talking about earlier, which is कि tech is a very gate-kept community. Tech ना बहुत gate-kept है, jobs बहुत scrutiny बहुत high है, difficult to crack है. Yep.
Okay. Amazing talking to you, Pritesh. मतलब काफ़ी insightful podcast था that I feel. हमने काफ़ी सारी चीज़ों के बारे में बात करी and thank you so much for taking out time. काफ़ी मज़ा आया आपके साथ बात करके.
Thanks man, thanks Nishant, thanks for having me.
तो थैंक यू सो मच फॉर वॉचिंग दिस वीडियो. अगर वीडियो पसंद आए तो वीडियो को लाइक जरूर कर देना, सब्सक्राइब कर देना चैनल को. इसके अलावा प्रीतीश के लिंक्डइन प्रोफाइल का लिंक डिस्क्रिप्शन में, तुम जाके डेफिनेटली उनके साथ कनेक्ट कर सकते हो. एंड फंक्शनअप पे अगर तुम्हें चेकआउट करना है तो उसका लिंक भी डिस्क्रिप्शन में तुम्हें मिल जाएगा, तो यू कैन डेफिनेटली चेकआउट फंक्शनअप. थैंक यू सो मच फॉर वॉचिंग दिस वीडियो. मिलते हैं नेक्स्ट वीडियो में, तब तक के लिए.